Saw dudes, I was bored and wanted to make a Peregrine Greaves build because it's an exotic that doesn't get much usage. Today's build is straightforward and makes use of the Striker subclass for extra melee damage on top of the 225% Peregrine Strike buff. This is by no means meta, but fun to screw around with in lower to mid tier content. Before you come after me, Peregrine Strike does not work against frozen enemies and is impossible to use with 1-2 punch. You can watch videos from 2019 to see what it was like. If you want to blow enemies out of the water with shoulder charges alone, this build is for you. Let's get started. Like many other Striker builds, Thunder Crash will be the super. It provides very easy burst damage and makes me feel like Omni-Man. I chose to run Rally Barricade for the lower cooldown and the weapon bonuses. I think having cover in this build is crucial, but Towering Barricade takes way too long to recover after use. The melee will be Seismic Strike, since it's the only melee ability that receives a 225% damage bonus from Peregrine Greaves. It blinds targets on hit, and while amplified, the blind radius increases. Pulse Grenade is the best choice for constant damage and choke point holding. It's also just easy to use because I am a smooth brain. Aspects of the Bird Titan are Knockout and Touch of Thunder. Knockout causes melee kills to grant amplified and begin health regeneration. After breaking an enemy shield or dealing damage to an enemy below 30% HP, Knockout provides a 100% increase in basic melee damage and a 25% increase in charge melee damage for 6 seconds. During this time, basic melee attacks count as arc empowered melee hits. Touch of Thunder causes pulse grenades to create ionic traces on hit and increase in damage over time. Fragments for the Peregrine Falcon wannabe are Spark of Amplitude, Magnitude, Resistance, and Shock. Amplitude causes rapid kills while amplified to spawn an orb of power. Magnitude adds 2 more pulses to pulse grenades. Resistance grants 25% damage resist while within 15 meters of at least 3 enemies. And finally, Spark of Shock makes grenades apply jolt upon dealing damage. Let's cover the armor. First off, the helmet had Harmonic Siphon, Special Ammo Finder, and Hands On. You can switch the Special Ammo Finder for Heavy Ammo Finder if you want. On the gauntlets, there was Melee Kickstart, Momentum Transfer, and Heavy Handed. For the chestplate, I equipped Charged Up and 2 variable resistance mods. When it came to Peregrine Greaves, there was Stacks on Stacks, Recuperation, and Innervation. Finally, the mark had Powerful Attraction, Reaper, and Outreach. This build revolves entirely around shoulder charges, so having 100 resilience is mandatory to survive. Even with the blinding effect, AoE damage from other sources will be high. After that, dump the rest of the stat points into Strength and Discipline to lower our melee and grenade cooldown respectively. If this video helped at all, consider subscribing. It helps out a lot. Time to go over the weapons. Unfortunately, 1-2 punch is impossible to proc with shoulder charge, so you won't see any combos like that today. Weapon Loadout 1 uses Monte Carlo, either for Barons or Prodigal Return, and Hothead. Monte Carlo is a natural choice in melee-focused builds because it refunds melee energy upon dealing damage to enemies. Each bullet hit will refund 2% of our melee energy, meaning that there will be constant Seismic Strike uptime. The Catalyst allows for the use of the Bayonet, which refunds 50% of our melee energy on hit, meaning that a Seismic Strike kill could be followed up by a Bayonet Strike that could refund the entire ability. It's a pretty straightforward loop. For Barons is the king of wave frames. Ambitious Assassin and Chain Reaction clears out adds easily. The best use case I found for this weapon was thinning crowds enough so that I could use my Seismic Strike on a beefier enemy without getting blown up. If you don't like raiding, you can try out Prodigal Return, a lightweight grenade launcher. It doesn't have the same raw ad clear potential as for Barons, but it can roll with lead from gold and Volt Shot. This makes it very ammo friendly and provides another way to apply jolt to enemies. Think of it as a support weapon that can debuff groups when Pulse Grenade is down. In the final slot, we have Hothead. I rolled mine with Field Prep and Explosive Light, but there are tons of combinations that work very well. Auto-loading holster and lasting impression are superb for damage rotations. At this point, you can use whatever you want, just make sure it has impact casing for maximum rocket damage on impact with an enemy. Weapon Loadout 2 uses Submission, the choice between Cold Heart or Delicate Tomb, and Elatic Principle. Submission is an amazing lightweight SMG and rips through ads. I use Subsistence and Frenzy on mine for general gameplay, but for this build, you might want to try out Overflow and Swashbuckler. Overflow overfills the magazine to twice its size on special or heavy ammo pickup, and Swashbuckler is a damage stacking perk that gets activated on kills. Swashbuckler gets max stacks on a melee kill for a 33% damage bonus. Since Seismic Strike and Knockout melees are the bread and butter of this build, this perk will see a lot of uptime. Cold Heart is good for single target damage, but is mainly used to generate ionic traces. After ramping up to its high damage state, it will periodically spawn traces that refund ability energy. It essentially becomes a trace rifle version of Monte Carlo and provides another way to regen our melee ability faster. Delicate Tomb also spawns ionic traces, but requires kills to do so. After collecting the trace, the next shot will jolt enemies. It requires being closer to enemies, but is much better at ad clear than Cold Heart. In the heavy slot, we have Elatic Principle. This is an off-brand retrofit escapade, but can be crafted with the best damage perk in the game, Golden Tricorn. At 2 stacks, it will provide a 50% damage bonus, which is very easy to proc since our grenade and shoulder charge are extremely lethal. It is by no means meta, but it is a fun option. Finally, Weapon Loadout 3 uses Rufus's Fury, Iterative Loop, and Tractor Cannon. Rufus's Fury acts as a grenade regeneration and ag-clear tool. With a Demolitionist and Hatchling role, regenerating pulse grenades is extremely easy. Remember, damaging enemies with grenades will provide melee energy. Also, the Hatchling perk synergizes with Demolitionist. Threadlings spawned by kills can provide grenade energy if they kill a target. If you don't feel like raiding, feel free to use any weapon you'd like in this slot. I just thought this would be a nice suggestion. Iterative Loop is going to be the special DPS weapon of choice. I crafted mine with accelerated coils, lead from gold, and volt shot. This fusion is insanely useful for melting champions and putting in damage against bosses. While it doesn't have Reservoir Burst, I don't find it to be lacking. If you do want Reservoir Burst, try out Loaded Question. The heavy weapon is Tractor Cannon, purely meant to debuff enemies and increase the damage they take by 30%. With Peregrine Greaves and Tractor Cannon's debuff on an enemy, Seismic Strike will do 292.5% increased damage. Tractor is also useful for reducing the time to kill on bosses, and allows us to switch to Iterative Loop to do consistent damage. Alright, now let's get to the game loop. The basic premise is to use Seismic Strike while airborne to take advantage of Peregrine Greaves. After use, slay out using Pulse Grenade or Monte Carlo. While in combat, collect orbs to regen grenade energy and recover health. I would not recommend staying in the fight for long after using Seismic Strike, and would instead use hit and run tactics. If you do get caught out, use your barricade to get some breathing room and use a heavy weapon to clear the mob. Use Thunder Crash on champions and bosses when you need to, and knee smash the opposition. Rinse and repeat. I hope this build is a fun change of pace for everyone. I got really tired of seeing the same builds being employed and decided to think outside the box. I'm considering making a Void build next, but we will see where it goes. Other than that, my Warframe video is underway. I'm very excited to see Tenno and Guardians in my comment section. My first video will cover a 2023 review of the game, since I have taken a year-long hiatus. After that, I plan to make build videos very similar to the Destiny ones I currently make. If there is a frame or weapon that you'd like to see, let me know. With that being said, I would like to hear some input from you guys. I'm looking to improve my videos by buying an XLR microphone and would like to get some sound interface and mic recommendations. Right now, I am considering getting a Blue Sona and a Scarlett 2i2, but I am a noob when it comes to the world of sound equipment. If any of you have knowledge that you could share, please leave it in the comment section. One final note is the creation of a Discord server. One of my viewers asked if I have one, which I currently don't. I'm afraid that inappropriate content would be posted, and I am clueless in moderating that stuff. I'll see if I can get around to creating one so that we can band together and have a build crafting discussion. Let me know what you think and what other builds you would like me to cover. As always, thank you for watching and happy farming.